Well, here on the program, we are always happy when we see an old building getting new life in Greater Nebraska.
The Cowpoke Hotel in Thedford is now as good as new after a team effort helped get it completely restored. In this segment, we learn how a ranch family and many dedicated workers helped to save a Sandhills landmark. The Cowpoke Hotel has quite a history in Thedford. It was built in 1914 and started out as the Sandhills Hospital.
And eventually it was bought off the courthouse steps by the Philpott family, and they used it for many years as a hotel, specifically when the auction yard was right next door. They traded a lot of cattle out of here as well.
As you might imagine, time took a toll on this old building. Casey Hoffman had always admired it.
Once I kind of caught wind that it was maybe for sale, I knew I needed to talk to Roy Licking because he had maintained the building for several years, and he would know, he'd be the first to know if it was for sale.
With the help of local contractor Roy Licking, Hoffman and her family eventually were able to acquire the building.
I told Roy if we get it bought, he has to come with the building because he had renovated quite a few older buildings and is just an amazing craftsman.
Licking says he's glad the Hoffman family asked him to help restore the building. He says his team of artisans and crafters worked hard to keep it as original as possible.
We had a brick mason come in, and it was all retuck pointed, which he ground out every joint. My painter was an old style painter. He hand brushed all this in. The ceiling come out of the lumber yard that had a fire, and we cleaned it and straightened it up as good as we could and reused it in here.
Even the floors are original.
They'd had linoleum glued down to them sometime in their life, and then they'd been carpeted over, and we stripped and sanded all these. We've had a lot of fun in here.
Casey Hoffman says her family worked hard to maintain many original furnishings and furniture.
I know my mother-in-law and myself really appreciate antiques, and it just wouldn't be right in here without it.
Photos on the walls of the hotel highlight the owner's involvement in the cattle industry over the years. History is preserved here as well.
When they were rebuilding or going to tear down the old courthouse here in Thedford, Roy Licking had managed to snag these old ballot bags from the vault. And they were ballot bags that were put at every post office in Thomas County, and people would cast their votes, and then they'd bring those bags back to Thedford where the county seat was and count them. Roy has had them in his shop for many years and decided they needed to go in here.
The hotel provides all of the modern comforts, but at the same time, it seems to take you back to the 1930s and 1940s. For now, the hotel is not for public use.
Right now, we're pretty much using it for our bull sale customers or people that come through that are looking for bulls, or pretty much for like private use.
But if people want a tour of the Cowpoke Hotel, the Hoffman family is willing to show it off.
This building had to stay standing. It's a cornerstone, a centerpiece to the Sandhills, starting out as a hospital. In fact, I know of three older women that were born here that are still living. You don't have to go too far in a lot of these small towns where you just see piles of bricks, and it just couldn't happen with the Cowpoke. It just had to stay standing.
Yeah, and that is a neat building and a very nice community there.
Did a nice job with it.